Alright guys, so I'm finally making the video. I'm going to debunk atheism is unstoppable about gun control. I hope you enjoy it.
I see a guy come into a store. I'm at a Subway sandwich. He has his hoodie on. He has his hands in his pockets. He looks a little bit sketchy. I'm nervous that he might pull out a gun. Like this was, I was there not so long ago, and it was right after a mass shooting. And it is a real possibility that the dude is packing. Like, it's not totally out of the question. When I'm living anywhere else in the world, and I've lived all over the world, I don't feel that at all.
Yeah, you know what? He probably was packing. Packing a huge dong. No, I kid. Now, he probably was packing a gun. A gun to protect your narcissistic ass and everybody around you. I mean, honestly, that's more likely than him being a fucking serial killer who wants to shoot up a subway. Oh, this guy looks a little weird. He's wearing a jacket that's out of style. I guess he must be a mass shooter. I mean, that's quite a leap that you're taking there, bud. Try to have a little bit more faith in your fellow man. The left-wing mainstream media says that there's 91 deaths by gun violence a day in America. No wonder why he believes everybody's a killer. It's just not true, though. Most of those are suicides. You cut out the suicides, there's only 32 gun homicides. And guess what? Most of those gun homicides are not murder. Gun homicides doesn't mean murder. Gun homicides just means somebody died with a gun. The vast majority of those are good guys killing bad guys. Yes, the vast majority of those are self-defense cases. So there's about 10 gun murders a day in America. The population of the United States of America is 320 million. To say that you're going to be one of the 10 people that die by guns is very, very paranoid. And also, 350 million to 500 million guns exist in America. The vast majority of them, we're talking like almost 100% of them, are in the hands of good guys. To assume that everybody that's packing is a killer is just paranoid. In comparison, there's 1,700 abortions a day in America. That's 1,700 dead babies. That seems a lot worse than 10 gun murders a day. Why aren't you bitching about that? Or what about the 1,300 people that die by smoking a day? Why don't you bitch about that? Do you have any idea how many people die by secondhand smoke? More than guns. More than guns. But nobody bitches about smoking. But the point is, yeah, bud, you're paranoid. You are absolutely paranoid.
You're basically being led by fear.
Yeah, we're being led by fear.
You're letting the fear of being secure, all these threats in the world. Oh my God, I'm this little guy. We have cops. You could call people. You could run away. You could contain the guy. The point is,
cops literally take 10 minutes to show up. The only thing they're good for is outlining your dead body in chalk. And let's say you do outlaw guns. Well, guess what? They're outlawed. Citizens can't own them anymore, and only the criminals could get them. And guess what? They do get them. They get them off the black market. All the citizens ended up selling all their guns to the black market to make their money back, and now there's 500 million guns on the black market for super cheap that every criminal has now. They could get AK-47s and AR-15s with 60-round drums, and there's not a damn thing you could do about it. You say run away. What, are you going to run away from a bullet? You're stupid.
What you might experience in Chicago, yeah, if you're in the wrong part of Chicago, you got issues and you got problems. So that is different, but you still will not concede that if nobody had guns, if far less people had guns, it would be better for all of us. Not just better for you.
This is
better for all of us.
We're not talking realistically, though. If we're talking about a place with no guns, as I said from the beginning, this is simply not a possibility. America is not Germany. America is not Australia. That person who's packing, that person who's packing, you can't, there is no way, I'm sorry, but there is simply no way that you could even attempt or begin to control the sheer amount of firearms that are in the country. There's between 265 to 400 million firearms in the country. That's a lot of guns. And the point being that if somebody walks into a place in Las Vegas and they're packing, that's going to happen no matter what incremental gun reforms you take. And the question is, how do you mitigate the amount of gun-related deaths in a country you can't control the amount of guns, where criminals have them and they walk freely with them? You make it so that In that situation, a person can defend themselves. You won't be able to prevent, in many cases, not even in the majority, and probably in most cases, you won't be able to prevent somebody from packing and putting you in a position like that. But what you can do is empower law-abiding people to be able to defend themselves. And I think that's the question. How do we prevent people from being killed by firearms? In America, it's not a question of, well, if we could prevent this many guns from being on the street, you'll never come close to 90% getting guns off the street away from criminals. So the way that you prevent it is putting a gun in the hands of people so they can defend themselves. It's the only way.
Bingo!
That's insane. Okay, so let me respond to that. Your idea, you always reference this stuff of like, oh, it's going to be really hard. You're never going to get all the guns up.
Impossible.
It's very difficult. Oh, it's super impossible. We're never going to stop murder, are we, Nick? So we might as well not try to do anything.
No.
Australia has a microscopic fraction of the amount of guns that the United States of America has. When they did their mandatory buyback program, you know, their gun ban, only 1/3 of citizens turned in their guns. That means 2/3 of the people that had guns were all criminals. So the good guys weren't allowed to have guns, but the criminals had plenty. The criminals had all the guns in the society, and they've had plenty of mass shootings. People claim that, oh, Australia hasn't had a mass shooting since the gun ban. That's bullshit. Look it up. They've had plenty. So they were not successful, not even close, and they had a small fraction of guns to ban. They were only able to ban 600,000. America has 500 million. Now, let's say they try to do what they did in Australia and just take 1/3. You know, not all of them, but take a chunk of them. Well, they wouldn't even be able to take 1/3 because there's too many guns in America. But let's say they were lucky and they were able to get 1/3. Well, 2/3 of guns are in the hands of criminals now. That's 333 million guns in the hands of criminals, while you disarmed the good guy. I don't know. It just seems like a bad idea when criminals could get AK-47s and AR-15s with 50-round, 60-round, 100-round drums. And the good guys can't have anything. You say, oh, well, we should do something, even if it doesn't work. No, doing nothing is literally the best solution. Because right now, most of the guns are in the hands of good guys. And the bad guys can't do jack shit. What you want to do is reverse that, where the bad guys have all the guns and the good guys don't have anything and they can't do jack shit. You want to make things way worse. Way worse. Sometimes doing nothing is the best solution, you moron.
We're never going to stop the amount of guns.
Let's give the tools that people use to murder to more potential murderers. That'll solve it.
You think laws prevent criminals from getting guns? You're retarded. They get them off the black market. Guns are not even the most effective way of killing people, you freaking jackass. 86 people were murdered and mowed down by a truck in Nice, France. That's way more people murdered by a truck than that have ever been killed in a mass shooting. So you say guns are the most effective weapon. They're not even close. Box cutters killed 3,000 people on 9/11.
It's retarded. Come on, man. I mean,
well,
just because it's a big problem doesn't mean we should just sit there and be like, let's do nothing. Look,
well, tell me how we begin to control 400 million guns. Tell me how we begin to do.
Oh, and I'm more than happy to. But
just for the record, he never goes back. He totally dodged the question because he doesn't have an answer.
You are skipping past major points, which I would like to just let the audience know about so that you can be on record. I want you to clarify your position on guns.
Sure.
And so here's a question. Would you prefer, and this is what I asked my audience, and it was very informative for me. And by the way, my audience is mostly pro-gun. So like, I don't have some like team of people that I'm high-fiving like, yeah, fuck guns. First of all, Nick, it was very interesting that you always bring it back to America. I'm not in America.
Aren't you on record saying that you would wipe your ass with the U.S. Constitution and remove the guns of every American citizen if you had the chance? Yes, you did say that shit. So that's why we keep going back to it. Because you want to remove guns from Americans. That's why we keep bringing up America. I mean, how is this even hard for you to comprehend?
There's a world outside of America.
And they don't have 500 million guns, so their situation is completely different. I mean, think of it this way. If Australia, who barely even had guns, can't even ban them, what, you think America with 500 million guns could ban them? You're delusional.
Okay, America is not leading the way on this issue. Exactly. So this guy's total Team America, dude. And he just wants to arm everybody
America
up.
first.
His podcast is America first.
That's right. America first.
Are you open to the idea that other countries have a superior way of handling this? Just are you open to that as a concept?
No.
Okay.
I think Germany's laws are gay. I hate Germany's laws. If we were like Germany, I would kill myself.
Okay, with your own gun.
If we were like Germany a while ago, maybe I'd be all right.
Yeah, there's a strong likelihood you will end up killing yourself with your own gun.
Yes, you're right. If someone's going to kill themselves, they're probably going to use a gun because it's the most humane way of killing oneself. Let me ask you a question. Let's assume that somebody that you love is going to kill themselves. They're going to kill themselves no matter what. They're already dead set on doing it. Would you rather them kill themselves humanely with a gun and ending their life quickly and as painlessly as possible? Or would you rather them slowly hang themselves? Or would you rather them get into the bathtub, get a razor, slit their wrists, and drown in a pool of their own blood? You tell me which one you would rather them do. If someone's going to kill themselves, they've already made up their mind. It's better that they kill themselves with a gun. That's something that always gets ignored.
But here's my question for you. My question is simple. What is more ideal to you, in your estimation? A country where almost everyone has a gun or a country where almost no one has a gun?
Probably a country where everyone has a gun, I would say.
I'm shocked, Nick. I'm shocked. Please defend that. Please defend that. Just, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Almost everybody owning a gun is an ideal situation. Imagine there's a mall with thousands of people, and there's a killer who has an AR-15. He walks in. Somehow he snuck it past security. All right, he's in there. How long is he going to be in there before he dies, you think? 1 second? 2 seconds? He's not going to last very long with thousands of people owning guns. It's the same reason why nobody ever freaking robs a gun show or shoots up a gun show, because they're not going to live very long. If everybody was packing, everybody would be safe.
I think the difference is you see a gun as a tool that can be used to kill people, and you think that's always a bad thing. And I think that's a different worldview. I think that's a liberal worldview. I think we live in a world where people have bad intentions. And I think that the gun, like nuclear weapons in many cases, can be better used as a deterrent more than anything, or use a means to defend a person. So you're still going to have, in a country with no guns, you're still going to have beatings, you're still going to have rape, you're still going to have home invasion, burglary, theft. But in a country where everyone has a gun, you're able to defend against that.
Why don't we use other devices to defend and not use lethal force? How about stun guns and pepper spray and all sorts of other goodies?
So you're in America, a criminal gets a freaking AK-47 on the black market, and your solution is you're going to stop him with a taser.
Look, I'm in favor of the cops. What you just described is a land with zero police. I want the police to have guns. I want a military. I'm not anti-gun to some ridiculous level.
You only want our rulers to have guns. That seems like a great idea. Imagine if it was only Hitler who had all the guns. Oh shit, that happened. Oh, and people were thrown in death camps. Oh my god. I think you're stupid, AIU. Real stupid.
I think it's a terrible idea.
State. You want a police state. The only way.
Who said that? I want police. I want the police to exist.
I'll tell you how. You know, the UK, for example, it's interesting you brought up the UK and how they do things. When I talked about the murder rate that went up after the gun ban, or rather gun control, went into effect in '97, the only way that they were able to bring their murder rate down, by the way, that didn't just happen on its own. They had to increase the amount of police in the country by 18%, which is a lot of police. And most police will tell you, even in America, most police will tell you that the best way to defend against crime is to have a gun. And they will tell you that when these kinds of any crime happens, a home invasion, a rape, a murder, police get there after the fact. Police are reactive. They're not proactive. They respond to crime. Someone has to call the phone and they have to come, and it takes a long time. You know, in Parkland, Florida, the shooting was already over by the time the police got there. And that's when I say police are not sufficient. People have to be able to defend themselves.
The UK, is that the place with 0.92 is their rate per 100,000 when it comes to homicide versus America, which is 4.88
police presence.
Okay, here's the thing. You're comparing homicide with homicide for different countries. They have different definitions of homicide. America's homicide includes self-defense killings, as well as, bad guys killing good guys. You're taking self-defense cases, which is a good thing, and pretending that it's murder. Don't you see the dishonesty in that? Don't you see the dishonesty in that at all? So you're comparing their actual gun murders with our self-defense cases plus our gun murders. That seems just a little bit unfair. You're being like every other left-winger. You're being a dishonest little asshole.
No, America's 5 times the murder rate of England, and yet you bring up England. And what's the big difference? It's way up. There's no guns in England.
And you're probably, I guarantee, that you're not accounting for population. England is a hell of a lot smaller than the United States of America. So, of course, the United States of America is going to have a lot more death because they have a lot more people. Also, they have 320 million people, 500 million guns, and they're actually allowed to defend their life. And when they do defend their life and actually have to kill somebody, you count that as murder. So, of course, it's going to seem a little bit off.
I brought up the England. Yeah, and there's also a lot less. There's also a lot less gangs. There's also a lot less minorities. So that's a big difference as well, which you're leaving out of the homicide rate. If you compare like states, if you compare states that are demographically like the UK, Idaho, Maine, the murder rates are about the same.
Okay, but so what? All the brown and black people of your country belong to your country. That's your problem. You can't just eradicate it by saying, well, the whites do it less. You still go through Chicago. The people of Chicago, whatever color they are, have access to guns, and it's a problem.
Chicago has some of the strictest gun control in the country, and that's why they have the most gun crime. What the?
But we're talking. No, I don't think you understand here. It's about causality. If you're saying the homicide rate, if you're saying the homicide rate in the UK is lower than the United States, you're comparing the UK and the United States, and you're saying the reason, the causality, why these two are different is one has no guns and one has guns. However, if you compare the UK with other states in the United States where they have guns and they can carry them without a permit, and you find that the murder rate is the same, then you find that the variable here, causality, the reason why the homicide rate is lower in one country and higher than another, if you control for guns, you'll find the reason is demographics. It's gangs. We have 40 times the amount of gangs as other countries in the developed world.
I'm against gangs. What do you prefer, gangs with guns or gangs with knives?
Do you think they'll go away if you ban guns?
Where do you think gangs even come from, you moron? Gangs come from prohibition. The prohibition on drugs created gangs. The prohibition on alcohol created the mafia. Do you know what the prohibition on guns will create? I don't even want to know, dude. You can sit here and promise us that you're going to ban guns from criminals, but guess what? Criminals won't turn in their guns. We've seen it 1,000 times before. The only people that will turn in their guns is law-abiding citizens. So the law-abiding citizens will be disarmed while the criminals stay armed. Your solution just gets people killed, dude. And I want you to answer your own question. Would you rather criminals use bombs, chainsaws, hatchets, machetes, and knives to rip out your organs? Or would you rather them humanely put their victims to death? No one ever talks about this. Gun deaths is the most humane way to die. I'd much rather humanely be put down by a gun than be beheaded by the drug cartels. But you're like, oh, dude, I want to be beheaded. I mean, that's just a way better ticket. I mean, that's the solution for me. That's the way I want to go out, is a beheading, a nice beheading. You have this absurd notion that introducing guns to a populace will turn a law-abiding citizen into a maniac killer. That's just not true, dude. Guns bring the murder rate down. There's 300,000 violent crimes a year with guns. But there's 700,000 to 3 million violent crimes prevented a year with guns. And that's by the FBI's own statistics. There are way more lives saved with guns than taken away. Another fun fact. In 1997, that was right in the middle of the assault weapons ban that banned all assault rifles. You know, AK-47s, AR-15s, and 30-round magazines. Well, anything above a 30-round magazine. So 60-round drums, 100-round drums too. Since we unbanned and brought back the assault rifles and large capacity magazines, crime rate with guns has dropped by over 51%. Chew on that, sucker. And here's another fun fact. The average number of people killed in mass shootings when stopped by police is 14.29. The average number of people killed in mass shootings when stopped by a civilian is 2.33. So there you go. A good guy with a gun protects you better than the police. Now, there's a stat that likes to float around that there's 355 mass shootings in the year 2017. You left-wingers love bringing this stat up. What the truth is that in more than half those cases, no one was killed or even injured. How is that a mass shooting? Also, you got to ask yourself, why are most of those accidental discharges and suicides near a large group of people? Again, not mass shootings. An accidental discharge around a group of people isn't a mass shooting, especially if it was on accident by a good civilian, which most of these are. These aren't mass shootings, but they're counted as mass shootings to inflate the numbers. They're trying to fool you. The vast majority of these mass shootings aren't mass shootings at all. And I'm talking like 98% of them. Like a handful are authentic. That's it. A small handful. Out of 355. That's insane. That's insanity. These guys are lying their asses off. Alright guys, I hope you liked this video. If you do, smash that like button and subscribe to my secondary channel because this channel is being shut down. Alright, subscribe to both channels. Catch you on the next episode. Buy my merchandise, bitch.